If you can crack public speaking, you can crack the world, because I should imagine that you'll be able to convince anybody of anything. Add to that a successful business and TV stardom, well, dynamo. Vusi is one of them, and I want to know how you became known as the rock star of public speaking.
I followed my path, I followed my journey. So I did public speaking at school. I was terrible at first, I have to tell you. I was really shocking. First time I was on stage, I got booed off.
Oh, no.
Yeah, true story. I was
Why
15
so bad?
years old. Because, you won't believe this, but I was 15, and a fortnight before I did the speech, I'd watched this movie by Mel Gibson called What Women Want. And I thought, this is a fantastic topic, because I'm a subject matter expert at the tender age of 15.
Of course.
And the audience didn't agree. So 2 weeks later, I get on the stage, and I'm trying to deliver the speech on What Women Want. And, 3 minutes into what was supposed to be a 5-minute speech, I got booed off the stage. So
I hope you finally find out what women want.
I suspect it's still mythology today. Still not. But that was kind of my first time on stage, and then I just bedded down. I just started working at it just to try and hone the skill.
And how do you crack it?
Public speaking is a practice thing. It's a lot like swimming. You could read all the literature about it, but it's so deeply personal and so psychological that if you're not in the practice of it, you will lose the skill.
I mean, I've done a bit, and obviously there's a fear factor to it, and it seems very successful if you draw on your own sort of personality or your own life.
Right, right.
People can relate to you then.
One of the things I found very effective is if you admit up front your own sort of shortcomings. Yeah. So that's really what I do. For instance, a week ago, I'm speaking to a group of actuaries, and I go, when I was in high school, I dated this girl who was much, much smarter than me, and she later became an actuary. So I have the fear right now that I'm speaking to people who have an IQ much higher than mine and are going to completely disassemble my argument here. If you humanize yourself, I think it makes you go a lot farther. You touch on something interesting, which is the idea people have of speakers that we don't get nervous. Couldn't be farther from the truth. In fact, in my own experience, I've found the more nervous I am, the more effective I'm going to be on the platform at that moment.
Yes, I think nerves are very important, aren't they, to kind of elevate you to try a little bit harder.
Nerves, I always liken it to energy, I always say to people. So it's like, it's an energy that's sort of building up inside. And what you learn over time is just the ability to turn that energy on itself.
Is there a time frame that really works? You don't want to be too short, too long, and also how do you monetize it?
So first, around time frame, I think anything shorter than 20 minutes, you can't land an idea. Anything longer than 45 minutes, you've just long-winded. So it's like that 20 to 45 minutes, there's a sweet spot there. People forget that when you speak, the single thing you're trying to do is to try to get people to see the world the way you see it. So you're really trying to convince them of your single idea. So the most important thing you want to do when you want to become a speaker is you've got to have a single idea. And that idea has got to be an idea that you can support, that has evidence around it, right? So how do you monetize it? That's the tricky part. The best advice I can give to anybody that wants to do this is get an agent. And there are a few of them. They're what we call speakers bureaus. These are kind of the moderators of the industry. So just go get one. And if you Google them, you'll kind of get a search of who the top ones are in South Africa. Go see one, because what they are is a entry point into the industry, and they can funnel you into really decent client work. I will say this just as an important caveat, which is the market will pay for the value that you deliver. And so I think a lot of people get into this industry and go, I want to make a lot of money up front. The question you've got to ask yourself is, are you worth the money that you want to make? And so get a strong bureau to represent you, a decent agent. Make sure that you're a subject matter expert, that you understand exactly what it is you speak about, and then make sure that you add twice the value in terms of what you're going to extract from clients.
Last thing, who do you want to speak in front of?
So I'm going to give you two answers. The first is my dream stage. It's hanging on my vision board right now. And I absolutely have to speak at Carnegie Hall in the US. I've now taught the hall twice, and there is an energy there that you just cannot speak to. I mean, there's a reason it's called Carnegie Hall. It's named after the man that wrote How to Influence, right? So that's my first. I've got to speak at that stage at some point or another. And who would I like to speak in front of? That's a toughie. It would have to be the Dalai Lama. I'll tell you why. There is something about having had the privilege of meeting the great Madiba twice. There's something about being in the presence of wisdom, which is just, it's a mind-shifting experience. These are people that almost have the ability to bend the laws of physics. And I'd love to share I'd love to speak in front of him, but I'd also like to share an audience with him, because I think that we grow thousands of years just by having the right conversations with the right people.